The U.S. Army has relied on the M1A2 Abrams main battle tank for 40 years. Yet, a new version of the vaunted tank is under development, meaning the Abrams is likely to remain in service for decades to come. The new version, known as the SEP version 4 or SEPV4, will include multiple modernizing upgrades, which should help the tank remain a valuable battlefield contributor. The Abrams tank sends a message to those who would oppose the United States as to the resolve, capability, and might of the U.S. Army. The U.S. Army Acquisition Support Center's website reads, "Jingoism aside, the M1A2 Abrams is indeed an advanced weapons system worthy of an adversary's respect." History. First introduced in 1980, the Abrams was well ahead of the curve, becoming one of the first third-generation tanks in any military, anywhere. Third-generation tanks are recognized for their composite armor and their computer-stabilized fire control systems, which represented a significant upgrade over second-generation platforms. To emphasize how ahead of the curve the Abrams was in the 1980s, consider that nations like Ukraine and Bangladesh were still producing second-generation tanks as late as the 2010 seconds, meaning that the Abrams was more advanced in the early 1980s than the tanks that Ukraine uses today. When the Abrams debuted, it was loaded with cutting-edge, and still useful, features. The most significant new feature was perhaps the top-secret armor. The Abrams relied on CHOBM composite armor, making the tank one of the few in the world confirmed to use the advanced defense system. CHOBM armor's design details remain top-secret even today, several decades after first being designed. What we do know about CHOBM armor is that the design features ceramic tiles encased within a metal framework, which is then set against a backing plate that has several layers of elastic. The ceramic backplates are extremely hard enough that they may prevent shaped charges from penetrating the Abrams armor. In addition to being hard, the ceramic plates are also brittle. Why? So that when a projectile does penetrate the backplate, the CHOBM's brittleness will create a jagged entrance channel. The result, a jagged entrance channel creates uneven pressure points on the penetrating charge, which can cause the charge to fail. CHOBM is not just theoretically superior, it has been proven on the battlefield, where CHOBM-equipped tanks are rarely destroyed. Still, the U.S. Army is working to upgrade the Abrams. In fact, the SEPV3, which the SEPV4 will be replacing, is itself rather new. The SEPV3 is the current production version of the Abrams and was scheduled for first United equipped in FY 2020, according to Army ASC. So, the SEPV3 is brand new, not unveiled until fiscal year 2020, when it was without question a highly advanced tank system. And the SEPV3 was a considerable upgrade over the SEPV2. The upgrades were the result of difficult lessons gained from years of combat. In the Middle East, the SEPV3 rectifies many of the space, weight, and power issues identified during Operation Iraqi Freedom, Army ASC wrote. It is the most reliable Abrams tank ever produced. Now, the most reliable Abrams tank ever produced is being replaced. The SEPV4 was supposed to begin testing in 2021, but the Army has kept the program details close to the chest. A sense of what the SEPV4 will look like is starting to emerge, however. According to werethemid.com, the SEPV4 will include new laser rangefinder technology, color camera, integrated on-board networks, new slip rings, advanced meteorological sensors, ammunition data links, laser warning receivers, and a far more lethal, multi-purpose 120mm tank round. Army ASC did confirm that the SEPV4 would feature 3-Gen FLIR technology, which will assist in conducting nighttime operations. The new FLIR technology will help Abrams crews target enemies, while also avoiding friendly fire incidents. So, the Abrams should be both the most lethal and the safest U.S. tank yet. What is the treatment like Abrams M1A2? The following is an interview with Sergeant First Class Robert Ford, one of the soldiers entrusted with maintaining the tank capabilities at Army Preposition Stocks 5. Look through the pictures to see how Ford and a team of contractors reattach a turret on an Abrams M1A2. Ford also recently passed the board for entry into the Sergeant Audie Murphy Club, and he talks about what he learned. Quoted from the werethemid.com site, with 9 years of service, Ford is on his third overseas deployment, having served in both Afghanistan and South Korea. Abrams M1A2 tank stored at an Army Preposition Stocks 5 warehouse at Camp Arifjan in Kuwait, Sept. 10, 2019. A PS5 is a massive amount of ground force equipment positioned to provide strategic planners options to win in the U.S. Central Command's area of responsibility. Fourth, the most important thing to know about the maintenance of tanks is that they are very big and very expensive. Even the smallest components can cost a lot more than the average military vehicle, which means it's that much more important to get the maintenance on them right. For example, the operation we recently did to put a turret back on a tank had to be completed with extreme care and precision as not to damage the vehicle. The cost of error is one of those things you can't help but to think about when planning maintenance on these. Sergeant First Class Robert Ford, Quality Assurance for Tanks, 401st Army Field Support Battalion, Kuwait, watches as contractors at Army Preposition Stocks 5 work to lift a 30-ton turret at Camp Arifjan in Kuwait, Sep. 23, 2019. I noticed a huge team effort in putting the turret back on the tank. Is that a special event for people here? Ford, we rarely pull turrets off or put them on, so every time it does happen it seems like it becomes a bit of a spectacle. That's because we are lifting a 30-ton piece of equipment and moving it around with no room for error. It's definitely something to see and experience. It takes a lot of eyes to ensure that turret is coming out and going in straight. The turret is a machine fit, only just big enough to get into the hull of the tank. If anything is off to the left or right, there is a possibility of damaging equipment, and that equipment is very expensive. In this case, the turret was level and fit well into its proper place. What is your role in a maintenance operation like this? Ford, I fill the quality inspection role while are doing the majority of the work. As the contracting officer's representative, I ensure the terms of the contract are fulfilled. I also verify and accept the completed work on behalf of the government. As you can see there, the guy on the tank is in charge of the crane. I'm just there for safety reasons and then just to ensure it's put together properly and safely. That's all I'm looking for. But if they need my advice as an expert on the vehicle, then I'll interject when I feel it's necessary. I try to stay back and let them do the job.